let's come down to the reality of Ghana. Let's talk about what is going on, because we have no trophies to touch. We have no quotes memorable like that to grasp onto. What we do have, though, is the imminent appointment of our next Black Stars head coach. Like I said, last week we were talking about Ibrahim Tanko, George Boateng, talking about the likes of Otoado, and then even Chris Hughton himself. Well, this week I can tell you that those choices have been narrowed down. The GFA president, Keto Kreko, did travel to Germany to try and convince Otoado, but we understand that he has amended his position a little, and he's more receptive to accepting Chris Hughton as head coach of the Black Stars. What we can tell you is that Hughton has already held meetings with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, so it looks like all is set for him to be named head coach. Apparently, he was supposed to leave Ghana yesterday. I hear that he has extended his stay to be able to mash up the paperwork that needs to be done, and then, officially take over as Black Stars head coach. But that's not all he's been up to. He's been meeting Ghanaian royalty. Chris Hughton says that his father, who is in his 90s, is Ghanaian and is from Jamestown. And so he took the time to go out there to Jamestown to meet the Gbese Manche, Nia Ibunte II. Most of you would know him as Tommy Okai, former club chairman and CEO of Accra House of Oak. These days, he sits in the throne, royal guy. So Nia Ibunte II received Chris Hughton. They had a few discussions. Eventually, it's ended up in the Black Stars conversation. So take a listen to this. When we come back, Yao and I will dissect the Hughton situation, style of play, money we are spending to get him, and will he be the guy to lead us to the promised land? Watch this.
For me to meet you, I've heard so much about you, and I know that you are very wise and have so many words of wisdom, but also I know how much you enjoy football and football in Ghana. Predominantly the reason I'm here is to see family. My father's from Jamestown. At this moment, this will be a very, very proud moment for him. I was hoping to bring him to Ghana with me, but my father, at his age now, is probably not strong enough. Although he's well into his 90s, but is not well enough to travel. So for him also, for somebody that was born and brought up just around the corner here, it would be a very proud moment for him and my family. I very much appreciate and welcome your words of wisdom, and they are words of wisdom, and this is something that I will take forward with me.
Good morning, Chris. You are welcome to Ghana. I'm very happy that you are now in town. This is the city of Ghana. And then you are coming from a big family named Jamestown. Jamestown is one of the city of Accra. Also, we are most grateful that you are here at the moment. But I wanted to assure you, if you are assigned as the Black Star coach, then you have a lot to do. I will never hide it to you. Ghanaians doesn't like a draw. When they draw a game, I have been the team manager. I've been deputy chief executive before I became the chief and director of the club, a member. So I know what I'm saying at the moment. Ghanaians, you will get the support when the team is winning. But when the team is not winning, then we see we have 1,000 coaches. And for that, I need to assure you. But I hope you are going back, and by the Almighty God will give our blessing, you will make it. Especially Ghana, Nigeria, from today we'll start our press we want Ghana, during your time, we need to go back to the World Cup. Yes, we will go back to the World Cup. During my time, we met Nigerians. They thought we are a team. At that time, I was the chief executive of the club. We drew with them here, the national team. And that we didn't get much time to prepare and then match them, but so far as the Nigerian national team is coming, we did it. Now I hope, being the brother, we need to give you support. Any missing link you doesn't understand, when you call us, we'll open the gate for you. I'm assuring you, we have done it. I'm proud of myself. As a folk, during my time, when I was the deputy chief executive to my boss, Aris Zakor, who won the Champions League and the Super Cup. No Ghanaian club have done it. No Ghana, up to now, it's about 22 years, no Ghanaian club. When he handed over to me too, we didn't go far, but we traveled to Kumasi and beat Kumasi at Tekotoko. It's about 18, 19 years. I was the first Ghanaian club chief executive to win the Confederation Cup, the whole Ghana and Africa. Me, my record, any trophy, I was the first Ghanaian club chairman to make it. When we go to the FA, all the trophy in Ghana here, MTN, Vodafone, everything, I'm the first Ghanaian club chairman to win that trophy. The administrators are there, but people doesn't respect us. We are there. Also, I don't want to see much, but I'll give my blessing. You are come to work for Ghana, for yourself. So far as you are a Ghanaian, the Ghanaian blood is with you. You should listen, you will make it. May the good Lord bless you.
Ni Ayibonte II. The statement that stuck with me, he says, for any missing link, you need to get back to us. We will open the doors for you. Yeah, what does he mean?
I think basically he's telling him that you should always pay homage to the elders. Yeah. And he's an elderly man when it comes to Ghana football. He's part of Ghanaian football royalty. Yeah,
definitely an achieved one, accomplished one.
Exactly, he has been through the mill. Yeah. He has seen all of these young stars develop into big time stars, legends of our game. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that that's what he's trying to tell Chris Hughton, that if you encounter any kind of problem that goes beyond football, or even if it's connected to football, and you can't solve it, you can lean on guys like us, we'll open the doors for you. Yeah, because sometimes you need it's all about communication. Yeah, and really Chris Hughton, though, is Ghanaian, but he hasn't been in Ghana for a long time. I doubt he
comes in and out.
Yeah, I doubt he knows the real culture of the country, and so you definitely don't want to overstep your boundaries. You don't want to step on some toes. You definitely need some guidance. Yeah. And I believe that when he has people like the Bese Manche on his side, he will be able to navigate those landmines and be able to be successful.
You know what was funny? Chris Hughton went to the Bese Manche basically to greet him and say, I've come here to reconnect to my roots. This is where my father is from. And so this is basically an introduction of myself. And then immediately he was told that the Black Stars job. Meanwhile, Chris Hughton had not mentioned the Black Stars job. He says the Black Stars job in Ghana, everybody is a coach. There are 1,000 coaches, and Ghanaians don't like draws and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Chris Hughton had not mentioned the Black Stars job. So I think this was even more like, yes, it was more revealing in terms of Chris Hughton's leanings towards the Black Stars job, because ever since he popped up in Ghana, and I have that picture there, I think it's in there, when he popped up in Ghana and was at the Labadi Beach Hotel, met with father of Callum Hudson. There was supposed to be a secretive meeting, but Citi Sports managed to get a picture. When he popped up, I mean, it was all made to sound as if, yes, that's the meeting right there, where he was meeting father of Callum Hudson-Odoi. This was the Lobadi Beach Hotel the night after he arrived. It was all meant to look like he had come here to come and reconnect, like year of return type of stuff. But we all know that that's not what it is. We all know that he had another motive for visiting. He only didn't want to make it look too obvious. But now let's actually discuss the merits of Chris Hughton as a manager. So there's the school of thought that says that he's been relegated a couple of times. He went to Nottingham Forest and was fired just in September. Nottingham Forest have since then gone on to do well in the Championship. They've knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup. They've knocked Leicester City out of the FA Cup. People say that he plays very negative football. And so this is just like Milovan Rajevac 2.0. And so why are we bringing in Chris Hughton? Where do you stand on the issue of his competence and style of play?
Competence-wise, I think he checks the box. Competence-wise, because it's not every day that you get a manager who has managed in the English Premier League, head coaching your team, your national team, especially in this part. So competence-wise, I think he missed the grade. Style-wise, I think we could have done better, because you look at the profile of our players, the star players that we have, the potential star players that we have, and they are attack-minded players. Yeah. And you would think that once we go in for a new coach, we go in for a coach that can help develop our young players to become stars. Because now our players, they are as talented as they are not yet elite players. Yeah. They are on the brink of becoming elite players. So you need an offensive-minded coach or attack-minded coach to bring the best out of them. Yeah. And someone who is good working with young talent. And when you go in for Chris Hughton, who's defense first, conservative style of play as a coach, it doesn't really match with the kind of players that we have, the caliber of players that we have. And even with the culture
of Ghanaians like gung-ho, free-style attacking football.
Exactly. And so that's where I have a little bit of a problem with the eminent appointment. And on top of that, you look at the recent record of Ghana and coaches who are defensive-minded. It hasn't been pretty. You look at Milovan Rajevac, it was poor. CK, you don't even understand whether he has a specific style of play. But per what I saw under CK, it was clear that he made it difficult. He made it difficult to beat him.
Defense first guy.
Exactly, defense first guy. So you look at the last two appointments that we've had, defense first guys, and the results have been poor. And so when you go in for another defense first guy as a third appointment in a row, that's a little bit of a worry. And that's where I agree with people who push back on that appointment of eminent appointment of Chris Hughton. I thought we could have done better, knowing very well that now government is willing to spend more money to go in for a top-tier coach. I wouldn't say an elite coach, but a top-tier coach. We could have done better by ticking all the boxes, by going in for a manager who works well with youngsters, who is offensive-minded, a manager who is likely to stick around for the long term. Because this Chris Hughton appointment, eminent appointment, I must say, it has too much interim basis written about it. Because
why do you say that? Because I feel like he is in the twilight of his career as a manager. I want to say he thinks he's done enough club football, and so maybe he wants to delve into the national team pool, and he would probably want to do it long term. That's what I think. I don't know what you think.
I don't think so, especially looking at the circumstances we're in. Let's say Chris Hughton goes and plays the playoffs, the World Cup playoffs, and we lose. What is the next step? Are we going to sack him and bring in another coach? Because it's clear that between the FA and the government, they are playing your 10, my 10 with the coaching system. And so government goes to appoint CK Akono. The GFA adopts a wait and see. CK fails. Then it's the GFA's turn to bring in their coach. They bring in Milo. Milo fails. Then it's now the government's turn to bring in their choice of coach. And so should Chris Hughton fail, the FA will be emboldened to push their candidates to the fore. That now your candidates failed. It is our turn to push our candidates to the fore. And so that alone has interim basis written all over it. And on top of that, do we have the patience to
talk
sit
about
around?
Aliou Cisse's 8 years being given the chance to coach Senegal.
Exactly. Do we have the patience to sit around and wait for, let's say, Ivory Coast 2023 with Chris Hughton, if we fail to make it to the World Cup? Because let's face facts, even the government is also heavily invested in this whole issue of the Black Stars head coaching job. And so if, let's say, we miss out on the World Cup, the government will be under immense pressure.
A lot of pressure. Didn't qualify for the last World Cup.
Exactly.
Didn't qualify for this World Cup.
Exactly. They'll be under immense pressure to make amends for missing out on 2 World Cup campaigns. And so they will definitely cave in. I see the government caving into a candidate that the FA would push. And once that happens, you don't have a say when it comes to seeing Chris Hughton as a long-term basis. And those are the main options that I look, and I shudder to believe that there's no way this guy has a long-term or medium-term basis as a head coach, Black Stars head coach, on him in terms of the tag should feel on the first trial.
Yeah.
It's very likely
the jury will be out on him.
It's very likely he'll be gone before Ivory Coast 2023.
Interesting thoughts there. I still have a few more legs of the Hughton topic that I want to discuss, but let's take our first break here on the show. When we come back, we'll wrap up the discussion on Chris Hughton, and then we'll talk about a few more Ghanaian players that are out there doing some stuff out there. So stay with us here on the Tracker. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Tracker here on Citi TV, discussing everything Black Stars players, and whatnot. We are still talking about Chris Hughton and his imminent appointment as Black Stars head coach. Now, 2 things I want to talk about before we move on quickly. First of all, we always complained that we didn't have money to hire a top-tier coach. And so, even with Rahivac, we said that we could not give him the 35,000 that were given to his predecessors. All of a sudden, we've moved up to the bracket of about between 75,000 to 100,000. Now, my first question is, if we can afford that money all of a sudden, is Hughton the guy we should be hiring?
No. If we can afford that kind of money, Hughton is not the guy you should be hiring. A guy like Lucien Favre should be the guy you should be hiring.
Isn't Lucien Favre old and already too entrenched at Dortmund to be able to move anywhere?
Well, he's free at the moment.
Dortmund relieved him of his job a while ago.
Duties. And he's free at the moment. And when you look at a guy like Lucien Favre, like you said, he's pretty much up there in terms of age. And he hasn't coached at the national team level. So this would have been the perfect opportunity to pretty much have a relaxed kind of a schedule. It's not that every weekend you have a big game at hand that you have to game plan for. But when you are the national team coach, you have a leeway when it comes to the intensity of your work schedule, because there are so many months that you don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting. All you have to do is just monitor and continue to fine-tune your tactics. And so for a guy like Lucien Favre, with the kind of money we are prepared to spend on a head coach, I think Lucien Favre was the best candidate. And he also expressed interest in the Black Star job per the reports that have come in. And when you look at his track record, his ability to work with young players, if you're able to get Mario Balotelli in 2 seasons to score 43 goals in 66 games, then you are definitely a manager.
That's literally the best anybody has gotten out of Balotelli in his adult spell even.
Exactly. And Balotelli also credits him as the one guy who was able to teach him football tactics. Balotelli as a young player growing up, he relied on natural instincts to play. And this was the guy who could break down tactical formations to him, structures to him, that you need to move into this space. When you see the ball developing in this part of the field, you make this run, you create space for your teammates, you create space for yourself, and you can position yourself to be able to score more goals. This is the guy who consistently has achieved big things with the various teams that he's worked with. Coached at OGC Nice, took them to the Champions League. Coached at Borussia Mönchengladbach, qualified them to the Champions League for the first time in decades. He was able to groom youngsters. That's why I say, per the players that we have, a guy like Chris Hughton isn't the best choice for the players that we have, because if you have abundant young talent in Kudus Mohan,
especially attacking young talent,
Afenejan and co, Mishaku and co, you need a guy who can groom youngsters to elite level. And you look at Lucien Favre, he did that at Mönchengladbach with Marco Reus. He did that with a guy like Granit Xhaka. He made Granit Xhaka one of the most sought-out players in the transfer window, 4 or 5 years ago. And so you look at this track record, it's brilliant. His ability to work with youngsters. And so for me, he should have been a guy Ghana should have gone in for. And on top of that, he missed the short-term, medium-term, and the long-term plans that we have.
Finally, on this coaching matter, again, still on money, when it came to Avram Grant, I remember, $50,000. We ran into arrears for a couple of months. In fact, his video analyst, Herald News, had to sleep at Alisa Hotel for a couple of days when he was actually due to leave the country because he had not been paid his money. CK Akono, we racked up arrears of his salary into almost a year. And as things stand now, I'm hearing that both CK Akono and David Duncan are owed monies. Kwesi Appiah, same thing. We ran into arrears with Kwesi Appiah on his 35,000. He basically had to come out to say that we were trying to starve him and trying to kill him as a person before we eventually ended up paying up his money. Why are we so sure that we can afford this type of upper level money that we've never attempted before without having any hitches? Why?
Well, it shows the kind of desperate mode that we are in. It's desperation. Desperation will force you to do things that you never thought that you would ever do. And so back in the day, we had a solid stance that we are not going beyond 50K. We are not going beyond $35,000. Then all of a sudden, we saw approaching tournaments. Our style of approaching games isn't working anymore. So we became desperate. And that's why we've upped the ante. And now we are in the top tier level of payment of coaches, especially when it comes to these parts, African countries. And that's why we are desperate to the point where we are shelling over, 70,000 to go in for the imminent appointment of Chris Hughton. And I think we could have solved all this and prevented all this if we had invested in our coaches. You give them the proper training, you give them the proper remuneration, because as things stand, the junior national teams coaches haven't been paid for 2 years. So you give them the proper remuneration, you give them the proper training. Yes, individually they have to also improve themselves. They also have to make a little bit of sacrifice. But you can buttress that, or you can balance it out by organizing state-sponsored coaching courses to these top European programs.
Then DFA promised that actually. They just haven't delivered on that promise.
Sure. Then once that happens, then you bring them back to the national team setting. Then you cap the salary around $25,000, around $20,000, with the proper argument that we spend this amount of money on you to gain this level of education. So that kind of money would have ideally been added to your $25,000 or $20,000 to make it $50,000, to make it a little bit appreciable at the world level. But because we invested this amount of money in you to improve you as a coach, then we have to cap it off at $25,000. Then we'll be able to save a little bit of money, and at the same time be able to improve the level of coaching in our local circuit.